There we are, live, and it's windy. And it seems appropriate that it's windy because I'm in windy Wellington, the windiest capital city in the whole wide world, which is a pretty cool thing to be in. And the alarm keeps going off. So I'm going to walk away from the building I wanted to show you in the background. And it is kind of funny because it's one of the safest cities in the world with a high human development index rating. But obviously, something back there is getting triggered. I play. You're awake. I didn't think I would see anyone in Europe. So um, I just came over on the ferry from Eastbourne. And so that's fun. And then I went for some lunch with my aunt and uncle, and they're taking the ferry back. they're, they're lucky because they're retired. They get free bus and boats, but within certain hours. Hi, Jen. It's nice to see you. So I'm out here and I was waiting for it to clear up. You're going to hear wind. Unfortunately, you're going to hear the alarm going off, but I want to show you this building up here just for fun. That is the oldest of the government buildings in New Zealand. So I'm in the city of Wellington. Wellington is so hi to everyone. I'm just watching where I'm walking, so I'm not going to necessarily say hi to everyone. But you look up there, the gentleman on the right is from County Antrim. He was one of the first prime ministers of New Zealand here. And of course, New Zealand, arguably by some standards, is the oldest or the first country in the world where women achieved full suffrage. Now, there's other places in the world that happened, but it's a very interesting statistic. In 1914, New Zealand was 1.1 million people. In 1939, it was 1.6 million. And now it's 5.2 million. That building in front of us is the oldest government building. The first one burnt down in 1907. That was built at the end of World War I, 1919. And then you have a more modern but very attractive building here. But of course, the famous one, for better and for worse, is that great big round one up there. It's called the Beehive. And for the shape of it, 1969 to 79, they spent building it. And I have toured it. And what I found fascinating is, of course, they have earthquakes here all the time. This is a seismically active city. And so down underneath, they put in these pilings, they look like big rubber mats, but it allows movement in the building. I did see a comment. Yes, I'm down here celebrating my aunt's birthday, and we had a lovely time yesterday. Met some neat friends of theirs and went out for a lovely dinner. And it wasn't a late night, but it was a nice night. And my family lived the other side of the base. There's a great big harbor here. I think there's 5 or 6 municipalities that make up Greater Wellington. So they live in the Hutt Valley, but in Lowry Bay, it's beautiful. And so it was nice to do that. And tomorrow we're going to go up to Martinborough, which is where all the Sauvignon Blancs come from, and stay there a couple of days. And so this was really my only day to come out and explore Wellington. I haven't been back in a long time. It's kind of fun to see it. Obviously, the New Zealand flag. Around here, you don't see a flag, but around town, you see the Maori flag as well a great deal. So that's fun. So I'm here in New Zealand till Sunday. This is Richard John Seddon. And he was born in Lancashire in England. He was a member of Parliament for all sorts of areas of prime minister from 1893 to 1906. Oh, and look at that. He died while returning to New Zealand from Sydney. It's interesting. I've been learning about the amount of shipwrecks around New Zealand, and it is very moving. So between here, so I'm at the very south end of the North Island, and it's a 3.5 hour crossing to the South Island, of which about an hour and a half is open water. And 1968, I did a little short, you might see a terrible accident. And there was the Penguin in 1908, I think, another this terrible disaster. I remember if you join me on virtual tours in Newfoundland, I think they say there's 10,000 shipwrecks around Newfoundland. There'd be fewer than that here, just because smaller population, but nevertheless, a difficult place and a true maritime place. Of course, the Maori people and these statues here, of course, are in honor of Maori people. And I would expect this one right here, the white page with the pen, that would be the Treaty of Waitangi being remembered. So the Maori people arrived here in about the year 800. It is said that they came, legend has it, they came from Rapa Nui or Easter Island. And this is part of the Polynesian Triangle. Now, about of the 5.2 million people who live here in this country, about just shy of 1 million are Maori. Only about 5% of the population speak Maori as a first language at home, but that is increasing, not decreasing. So that's pretty wonderful. And also, I just want to have a shout out and mention the fact that we're looking at the building with the green roof up there. That is Victoria University in Wellington. And that is where my daddy went to university. So that's sort of a neat thing. And where my aunt also went to university. So a big connection. So I'm up in the seat of government around here. There's quite a few court buildings. I thought I might do. Now, when I wandered up here, I did find that I was dropping reception. So if I just suddenly cut out, I do apologize. I know this is not a particularly convenient time for people to see tours, but if you're happy to put a link out to it, for some reason, the link wasn't working. Cook Centenary. Now, this is an interesting one. Up in Victoria, British Columbia, place I spent a lot of time. The statue of Captain James Cook was torn down by the Indigenous people. Here, of course, you have Cook Strait. You see a lot of names like Queen Street, which I saw up in Auckland, and Victoria, and all that sort of thing. So it is a fairly big deal. But since I was last in New Zealand, I'm seeing way more bilingual signs. It's funny. I'm actually hearing now a siren, and it's so funny because I had that alarm going off in the other building, and I'd seen none of that, heard none of that. I mean, I I do have my wallet in my front pocket, but I really don't think it needs to be there. You've got the beautiful big green hills up behind us. There's a cruise ship in port today. Now they don't start or end their cruises here. They start up in Auckland and they often end in Sydney, or they, one way or another. Thank you, Paula. It's very kind of you, my friend. Um, and so they have quite a few people wandering around. But again, Greater Wellington is about 550,000 people. Now, this gives you a little sense. So hopefully, it's a fire engine. That it's probably responding to the alarm I heard in the building. And it's a wooden building. But if you look in the distance there, you'll see these hills up there. Those are the gorgeous hills that are all around. That's leading out to Seat. So you have Oriental Bay, which we don't see from here, and then Seat, and that's around back, and that's where the airport is. Again, when you're the windiest city in the world, you have a very windy airport, and it can be awfully bumpy. Coming in, you might have seen the little short that I put up. It was only when we were curving, so I saw clearly the South Island as I curved around, but then landed into the wind. It was actually a very nice landing. Beautiful airport. On nice double decker buses. I will take a bus back to where I'm staying at my family's a little time after doing this tour, and it'll be about a half hour, or I'll take a ferry across the bay, which is really fun. So they've got a little bit of security here, stop vehicles coming up, but nothing really. I mean, it's a very, very safe country. And I would say, well, service is very good. It's friendly, like any small country with a high level of development. It depends who you talk to about how critical they are. Look at you. Very, very interesting little bugs. And I almost feel like these are bugs that actually, I don't know, they're either bees or they've left their shell. The only warning safety that I've had is that they have these white back spiders, which can give you a nasty bite. They're not poisonous. They just give you, some people react to them. And they do find them around their house every now and then. So I have been watching in the morning when I get out of bed with bare feet. But they came over from Australia. In Australia, famously, just about everything can kill you, and here just about nothing. I mean, their national bird, of course, is a flightless bird with a long beak. Really lovely, and they've been reintroduced around Wellington here. However, when you have things like rats and cats brought in, you know, that's not such good news. I just wanted to come over and show you the university. There is Te Karangawaka is the name of Wellington University, Victoria University. And somewhere I have my father's graduation from there. He graduated in music. Um, he left here at age 27. Walk around absolutely. The walk around nature it is so the spiders, they could be nasty. It's some people, my uncle was bitten by one. He said he swelled up for about 2 hours, and that was that. It's not the end of the world. Lovely little monument here. I'm going to turn because I'm walking the city center, um, but it will be walking into the wind. So I do love this flowering tree over there in red, and I've forgotten the name, but they call it New Zealand's native Christmas tree. And that's the only one I've seen flowering here. I saw quite a few up in Auckland. I think it's right here. No, there are sirens around. People out doing a walking tour. South Street. I bet they're off the cruise, but that's fun. Nice here. So it's nice to have people joining in. Oh, Anna Marie, nice to see you. Oh, I think the fire engine got lost. No, I think something must have been happening up in that wood building. Here is their national cenotaph. Now, keep in mind, so- war history is always a bit of a heavy story, but of course, the real story for Anzac troops, for Australian New Zealand troops, was the Battle of Gallipoli, which is 1916, 17. And I was there 2 years ago in Turkey. And there's a great friendship between Turkey and Australia and New Zealand because basically people that couldn't find each other on the map spent a year killing each other. And the Turks won that battle. The New Zealanders did capture the thing they were after for about a half hour. And the New Zealand generals sent fewer of the Kiwis just straight into battle or straight into the other trenches. But still, thousands down. So it was shocking. Interesting things. You have a lovely government building over here. But when I curved down here in 1840, which is the Treaty Waitangi, this was the shoreline. Now, apparently quite hotly debated because much of the city, everything from here into the bay, is reclaimed land. Sounds interesting. And you sort of even wonder why they would need to reclaim land when it was all fairly underpopulated down here. But that's because it's extremely hilly immediately, hilly and windy, but you reclaim land in a zone that has major earthquakes. What does that cause? Well, it causes liquefaction, if you know anything about seismic movements. And that's why so many buildings are still under construction. Here's in 1916, they had a 7 or 7.2, and the ground liquefied. So when the ground liquefies, of course, it just shakes up your foundations. So I actually quite like being in earthquakes as long as everybody's okay. It's an interesting thing. Owen Street here. So you get a sense there's several streets up there to get to the harbor. I thought what I might do is walk up one or two streets just along in the kind of main shopping area here. And then I'll walk down to the harbor because the harbor really is the feature of Wellington. There's quite a few. It's interesting. Now, New Zealand, it depends. Well, they did an excellent job during the pandemic, genuinely excellent job. They closed themselves down. But and they did have one of the lowest death rates of any country. That keeps good statistics from the pandemic. So that's the good. The downside, of course, is the economic hit that happened during that. Um, and so there's quite a lot of storefronts is closed now in terms of shopping and business. But the other shops, see, now it's a little bit like Western Canada, where you see a lot of outdoor shops because that's a big deal. Europe is a very, very sporting country. This is the foundation stone here for the Minister for Courts. So this is the Supreme Court of New Zealand here. And there you have a coat of arms, which is a very interesting coat of arms. Hey, Ken, and I do respect it because, of course, of the person with the New Zealand flag on one side, you have the Maori person on the other, and that was that treaty by Taney. And the parchment still exists, from what I understand. So the city hall and all of that, some of the buildings did come down. So it's under massive construction. We've got an excellent museum here in the city. And I'm not going to go to this time because I've been there twice before. And really, this is the only time I have to come hang around and share this with everybody. But I wanted to. And I have to tell, I have a friend, and both of us agree that kingfishers are our favorite birds in the world. And on the top of that building up there is Fisher Funds, and it's a stylized kingfishers. Yeah, that's really nice. I better get off the road. On my first day down here, and I'm used to driving on the other side of the road, but after, of course, 20 hours of travel to get down to Auckland, I wandered out looking the other way. And someone, well, it did slow down and quietly said to me, "You're in the middle of the road, mate." And I'm like, "Oh, geez, I'm sorry." No, I find the driving very easy on the other side. It's just that inadvertently looking the other way when you're not used to it. Right? It's, this is typical. You have these sort of awnings. Now, temperature right now is probably 17 degrees Celsius. It's actually cooler than was forecast. It was meant to be quite a sunny day. And it's just a little bit of a shame because the city is visually stunning when they have good weather. It's also fun because still at the end of the day, it's a capital city of a small, isolated, but famous country. And so I'm seeing way in the distance, I see a South African flag, I saw a Chilean flag, and then I saw the Polish hemisphere here. And of course, whenever you have countries in the EU, you see their flag and the European flag beside them, which is all really interesting. I do need to do probably a TikTok later about my country because it appears that tariffs have been slapped on Canada. And when I have conversations with people down here, they just say, well, we'll find out when we're going to be the next ones in target. So there's the Ministry for Culture and Heritage. Manatui Kaunga. Please don't try and quote me on my pronunciation of Maori. It's lovely weather. It's just, of course, see, wind. I actually quite like windy places. I lived in southern Chile, and of course, I'm at the same latitude here, roughly. I'm 41 south, to put that in some perspective. So if you flip that north, that would put you in about Oregon if you were in the States, or sort of southern Spain. But it's cooler because, of course, the inland. Let me go over. I really like this. I don't know anything about this statue, but I really like it. All the mixed up letters. I just think it's really well done. Lovely to have everyone here. Now, I would like to point out the fact that I have walked past a pub, not gone in. We just had nice, healthy Syrian food for lunch. I have to learn a lot. My aunt and uncle are very, very healthy people, and uh, and even on an important birthday night, we all had one drink. Hey, check out the van. You can rent vans all over this country. A lot of people come to New Zealand and do that. I think someone owns that one. And they rent camper vans. It's a very common way. And then you take ferry from here 3.5 hours over to the South Island. You can cruise around there, of course. Canterbury is the area of Christchurch, the main capital of South Island. Um, this is how people thank you for happy birthday, Will Bethlehem. This is in the old days when the crabs came on the bottom of boats and they wanted to call home and say they were safe and sound. They used a shell phone. Sorry, that was a little poor. Do you mind, ladies and gentlemen? And of course, these stay up here forever, but I just want to tell you one little life shows you the university where my dad went to university, but also just one little spot over here. This is a lovely statue. It's a different restaurant in here now than there used to be, but this is the spot where my grandfather passed away. And I never really knew him, sadly. He worked for the United Nations for the World Food Program, things I fiercely believe in. Of course, the World Food Program was established in Quebec City. Uh, and he had just graduated and he wasn't feeling very well. He sat down here and had a massive heart attack. So it's always interesting. I remember coming here when I was quite young and then walked over here with my aunt earlier today. So I sent a picture to my son. So important thing to talk about. And then throughout, they've done a good job of putting out these signs. You do see the face tattoos on people and young people as well. I mean, I feel, hi, Dan, nice to see you. I do feel genuinely naked walking around or being by a swimming pool because, of course, this tattoo culture, the Maori culture always does. So the land across the road between Woodward and Bowen Street was once home of the Taranaki chief, Witako Ngata. Oh, Ngata's a farm, yeah, and his Te Atawai people on the site of Wellington's most notable Kainga. But there are a lot of, and then there's 1845. Imagine what that would be like. So that's so nice of people to join on. I realize so many of these tours are last minute. Um, it's and I see so many. Diane, it's funny. I see all so many names and friends of mine, and so nice to connect. But of course, we're looking at always having these tourists stay up here for public consumption for years to come. So gradually working towards how to do all the tags and all of that. Well, thank you. Yeah, it was very nice. Very nice birthday. Now, my cousin, so we had a long call with my two cousins, their two daughters. One lives in Paris and one lives in London now. The one who's in London is coming home on Sunday when I'm leaving. But I'm going to see her in London and see the other one when I'm over in Paris. Now, they're a lot younger than I am, different generations. And that's a little bit the way it is now. This is not a particularly engaging street at the moment, but I want to get up to the waterfront. It will get windy. And there are funds to walk through, but I just thought I should take you up to the harbor. And that's where you start to see why it is such a significant place. Now, the wind hopefully will not bother you too much. It doesn't bother me, but it is, again, famously the most windy city in the world, to such a point that you wonder why, they built the capital here, nice street down there. But of course, the very bottom of the North Island, which is more populated than the South Island, there's really three islands officially to New Zealand because there's Stewart Island off the bottom of the South Island. There's two big islands. And the South Island has the Southern Alps that run up and down. And the North Island, of course, is very, very volcanic and very tectonically active. They both are. Um, oh, that's great, Janice. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of the cruises, and I am 2026, I have people asking for a tour down here all the time. And it's one of the times that I really would contemplate a cruise. Um, oh, the birthday was yesterday. Thanks for asking. Yeah, we had, as- but yeah, I have actually genuinely considered having a camping cruise. Do you know what, everyone? Let's go Customs Key. I need to show you something. Okay, I'm going to walk to the waterfront and then I have to look around and you have to stay with me till I show you something really cool that I only discovered last night. But I can feel that wind coming straight in. Oh, goodness me, I got 15 seconds. I don't know what I'm making. I feel like I will. But here we come out into the harbor. And this is why Wellington is so livable. It's a gentle climate except for the stormy weather. And in the winter, I've never been here in the winter, but I guess they do get just massive gales. Cool buildings though. And I like generally speaking, I like the architecture. I would say I actually enjoy the architecture a little more here than I did in Auckland, except for the inner harbor in Auckland. Because what they've done, and there's all these neat houses on the far side of the bay around there where they actually have your birthday is Wednesday. Great. Oh, and it's Tuesday here, so it must be Monday here. I love public art anywhere in the world. But that's nice to see. Mhm. If this one can fly, it will be an abled gull or a gullable. But let's come out here for a second. So look out at these nice houses out here. The boarding school that my dad went to used to be up on that hill. It's no longer a school, thank goodness. But I'm out in the wind. Lovely looking lady there. But where there's a fancy either hotel or set of apartments there, that's where the ships used to leave to sail back to the UK. Of course, this was a distant colonial entity. And when you left, it was 3 months. Right? So my father came down here at age 7, or I think he turned 8 on the ship. At age 27, I said the other day 23, but I was corrected. It was 27. He went back the other way. So by age 27, he'd circumnavigated the world. But Eastbourne is down around the other side. So this is the whole bay out here. So if you're going to sail to the South Island, and there's a ship out there, Strata, um, that is one of the ones that they load up and they sail out. And then you're in really open weather. There's a plane just coming into there. Gorgeous airport, but bumpy landings. And you're in really wild weather across Cook Strait, and then you get into the fjords up on the South Island. So that's really lovely. They've got a big lumber ship in the distance. Some export, a lot for construction here in New Zealand. Uh, construction boom. House prices have actually fallen. Well, sorry. So I hopefully everyone's hearing me just fine because I am walking into the wind. I don't have any choice about that at the moment. Well, I do. I could go the other way, but that wouldn't work. Um, but yeah, the down in the south, Queenstown, the average house price, Queenstown is sort of there bound, right? It's where the skiing and golf and all of that is along a beautiful big glacial lake, post glacial lake. And the average house price down there is 1.8 million New Zealand dollars. That would be about 1.1 million. To put it in some perspective. Now you see this fun little catamaran here? That's the boat I came over from the other side in about 28 times across the day. It was pretty bumpy. I mean, not at all scary or anything, but pretty bumpy. And you have some nice little restaurants, but do stick with me. Hopefully, everyone's hearing me just fine as I make my way along here. But it is interesting. The from the last time I was here, there are obviously a lot of buildings were damaged that last major earthquake. Like quiet morning hill stands like an altar drawn, whereon hushed hand shall lay the shining something of dawn, with pertinence and stir, and drowsy flurry by, the wind, a shamefaced serving boy, comes running up the sky. A beautiful poem. A shining PYX. Excuse my hands. Barely have a word I need to learn. Am I on the right? Let me just come out here. I'm gonna loop around because, like I say, there's something I have to show everyone. Now, we did a big loop around this morning, and there is an awful lot to see, but I'm only going to squeeze in whatever we can in sort of half hour, 40 minutes, something like that. And then I want to do watch when I'm up in Martinborough, maybe on, well, Thursdays would be Wednesday for most of the rest of the world because I'm so close to the international date line. I will look at doing a tour in that small village in the wine region. That'll be fun. There's the New Zealand Portrait Gallery, which I have not been in. I've never been too much, I think. Portraits, sorry, there's a the construction on. There's the ANZ Bank, of course, Australian New Zealand Bank. There's actually my bank down here. There's the Queensworth Business Centre. And I need to go down a little further, and then I'm going to speak to you, oddly enough, through telephone. But trust me on this, and it will help you understand where in the world we are. I'd be interested if I play some of this back to see how much the wind is coming through. But it is fun to have people. I thought I was early enough that I'd catch my friends on Turtle Island and in the States and everything. But it's nice that a few Europeans were up and awake. Um, but yeah, from here, so you have your typical both kind of touristy centers, but also just quality of life. Tons of people out jogging. Of course, this country, everyone can guess what their national sport is. Rugby, of course, they live for it, but they do produce for a small country a lot of world class athletes. But it makes sense, really. It's so outdoorsy. There's kayaks down there. There's lots of interesting plaques, and there are some more areas to show you. But as I do come out here, there's the Bond store. I found the old um, Bank of New Zealand, which is actually now shops. Here's the New Zealand Academy of Fine Arts. It's quite lovely. But over here, I have to get across street. So I had dinner in there last night at Charlie Noble, or we did. It was good. And if you can guess what I ate for dinner, you win a big hug. Now, of course, I had lamb. When in Rome, New Zealand is famous for lamb. And people have been wearing these black shirts that have sheeps on them. Um, yeah. Oh, actually, Paul, you're right. But but apparently the 15th of February, it's the 11th here today, is National Lamb Day. So it's did your mother's name be boy? But it's but yes. So rugby, well, Six Nations is over in Europe, but it's all the TVs here in Tourist. I mean, this is country. It's very lucky. They lost by 1 point to South Africa Cup last year. So they obviously serious rugby nation. Serious. Um, but it is interesting when you come to the Six Nations because we've been talking so much rugby. The poor Welsh are having a really terrible time. Yes, yummy lamb and what did I have? I just had beans actually as a side. Actually had it with a chimichurri, which wouldn't normally be how I'd have it, but they recommended it. It was delicious. I took a good photo I can put in our subscriber group. I said my friend Cindy is here. We met 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was in Detroit, and now I'm here in New Zealand. And actually, the reason I was in Detroit 2 years ago was giving some lectures up in Michigan, and it looks like we're setting some of those up. But we'll watch now. We'll see what happens with all of the current politics. But this is what I wanted to show everyone. So these young ladies are standing there, and have a look at this phone booth. If you've ever been to France, that is a France telecom phone booth. Why is there a France telecom? Excuse me, I'm speaking French. Why is there a French phone booth right here? There's a plaque that this young lady's here. I'm just going to see if I can show you for 1 sec. Let's see if I can do the picture 20 things to punch. Right there. The local C. Sorry, the local C. That's just what this is actually a phone that is connecting directly to Corsica in France, right? Literally in Corsica in France. And so you pick it up and you press a button and you hear noises from the streets in Corsica. And if there's a phone booth up there of New Zealand Telecom, and you can press a button and you hear noises from right here in Wellington, New Zealand. So why is that? Well, that is because if I drilled a hole right through planet Earth right now, if it came up the exact other side, it would be in Corsica. That's where we are in the world. And so, right now, by the way, in October, we have a tour going to Italy, and it will be up on my website. It's going to be a big one. There'll be space for lots of people. So, spread the word. But I've had quite a few phone calls with Italy this week just because we're literally getting the final details done for that. And we are exactly 12 hours difference. Isn't that kind of amazing? So, you know what? I wanted to walk over. There's a field, there's a monument to rugby, but it's just, I'm going to walk in the wind for about 500 meters. But isn't that cool? Just, yeah. So that's where, so basically, and play this game from where you live, right? Get a globe. So, if you're in Ireland, put your finger on it, or if you're in Wisconsin, and then find the other dot. Sometimes it's out in the middle of the ocean. So I don't know how exact this is, but I just think that's cool. For me, where I live, pretty much the other dot is Perth, Australia. That's pretty much the juxtaposition. So I just love all that kind of stuff because I'm a nerd, but I'm a proud nerd, and that's what matters most. So yeah, no, it is. It's really fun, isn't it? So I thought, what a cool thing. I didn't know about it, but we parked just around here in Waterdown. I do have to say, now my aunt was a lot younger than my dad, and she had a significant birthday, and her husband, my uncle, is 10 years older, and they're wonderfully healthy and mobile. Like, it's a healthy place here, and very little pollution, which I think helps. And you can eat well if you really try. Um, See that? That is cocina cubana. So I walked past last night. I saw bocadillas, bebidas, desayunos, and I thought it was Spanish. And I realized that it's actually a Cuban restaurant. Now I have spent, it was about 2 years in a row that back when we were allowed to, I took a lot of groups of Americans to Cuba. I wouldn't brag about their food, um, and even food in Miami, Cuban food. But good on them having a Cuban restaurant there. I've seen several South African restaurants as well, which is not a cuisine aside from the bill. Like I knew you could. But I went up and looked at it. There seemed to be a lot of curries, which was interesting to me. But then also kind of sausages that sound sort of German, but they're probably Dutch at first. So, oh, and another thing, there's a restaurant over here that says empanadas argentinas, and there's a big Argentine population. So we had Syrian food for lunch. But the gentleman who was Druze, and this is what I love about multicultural societies. So we had a nice chat, and he said his wife was Argentine and took a job here. That's why they moved here. Now, 1934, the Prudential Building, so that would have been insurance. Hi there. And that is the only Art Deco building just at the end of the street, the only Art Deco building I've really seen in the city. Beyond that, you get around to the National Library, or I think the Civic Library, and then the City Hall, but it's literally all under construction. There's bike parking. And of course, like everywhere in the world, they're building bike lanes everywhere. And some people are furious about it and some people support it. I would say this is a generational difference between me and my family. I tend to be for that sort of thing. And they're maybe not quite as keen, but it's a generational perspective sometimes. But yeah, let's come back up onto the main shopping street up here. They do have a cable car that goes up on to the hill. I didn't bother going up there, but yeah, in fact, just a couple of streets away, and you have these nice little curved buildings. Yeah, I see older hotel up there. So the buildings further back survived the earthquake better than some of the newer ones that were up in the front because of electrification. And they'll rebuild them, and then they'll have another one. There's the cable car right there. Cable car lane was right up above, or you can walk up by the botanical gardens. There is the Scottish embassy right there. You might see, but then right beside it, the Vancouver embassy, Lululemon. Right? So you have all those shops, but really the sporty outgood. We did one of those. We spent a half hour looking around the shops. Um, but those sporty outdoorsy shops do well here, just like they do where I live, because of course New Zealand is famously a destination for all sorts of wild sporting activities. When I say that, jet boating you've heard of, but the most famous thing, of course, is bungee jumping comes from this country. And the first time I tried it, I need to remind you, don't make the cord too long. It really hurt my head. No, I'm actually joking. I have never bungee jumped. And I actually mean that. There's one thing I don't want to do because I've heard of it doing damage to the optic nerve. What I have done, um, what I have done, interestingly enough, is something called fly by wire, which is like a giant swing here, and it actually had a motor on it. I did that north of Wellington and loved it. Got up to 5Gs and 0G. But I guess they had a flood that wiped that out. So, of course, so much of New Zealand. That was quite brown flying down from Auckland because it's the middle of summer. Here we are. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found that an interesting little walk. It was quite last minute, but I really wanted to get a video up here from Wellington. I did a little video as I took the boat into the harbor, which I'll publish up on YouTube whenever I get enough strong internet. I found internet really kind of so thanks, man. It's you. You up. It's my pleasure, and I'm trying to stay engaged while having a family trip here. But like I say, my aunt and uncle went back over home, and I just said, well, I wanted to go see the Parliament buildings and everything, and which is part of the fun. As I say, I don't know when I'll get back to Wellington unless I bring a tour group down here next year, and a lot of people are interested. And a lot of people ask me about that, so it's nice. We've got a fair crowd on, so feel free to share this around on your social media or any of those. Thank you. Yeah, big hugs, everyone. And I'd also say we have our subscriber group on Facebook. If we could get that up to, a couple of thousand people, I could do a lot more of these. But that's where the whole virtual discussion is an interesting thing to talk about. Anyway, all that said, from Wellington, New Zealand, the capital of New Zealand. I won't be able to do another tour here, but I will watch Thursday. Hopefully, I'll see if I can do one out in Martinborough. Small place, but up in wine country. So I'll try and do one up there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, big hugs to all of you. Take care, stay safe. And here, I'll show you one of their double-decker buses there. I'll take one of our buses probably back. I like the people in nice clothing on their bikes. Quite stylish, by the way. Tons and tons and tons of tattoos. But people dress well. That's the other thing. Another comment I'd like to make about this country is that New Zealand's small population, distant, but they're probably the best traveled people in the world because it's so common to go away for a couple of years. It's such a typical thing to do, and the Australians used to say like go walkable thing, but the Kiwis would go and traditionally go work in London or somewhere, and then you're able to carry on traveling. So a good part of it. And there's a funny guy holding a gimbal out here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.